Who's there? Clayton Davis here, Award Circuit. How's it going, everyone? Doing a fun little thing today called live video. So here's the deal. This is where we kind of had this little idea and wanted to bring it to you guys. So Award Circuit, obviously we do predictions every single week that you guys enjoy. Sometimes you hate it, sometimes you like it. Nonetheless, what we thought we'd do is bring it to you where we can talk a little bit about those predictions, talk about a little bit about what's going on, and give you the opportunity to kind of get in here with us and let your voice be heard on what could be going on. So we do have a live little chat going on the side or below, wherever you kind of want to put your questions. We'd love to hear them. I see some people in the room. Hello, Avi Sachs, and hello, Matt Sinclair. And of course, Joey's here as well. He'll be monitoring a little bit there. But yeah, that's where we are. So if you're in the chat right now, please share this out to all your social media followers. Let's get a conversation going. So we're going to be doing this for about half hour, 40 minutes, and then we can kind of venture off from there. So starting with Venice Film Festival, kicked off today. And First Man is a thing, as reported for many months. So directed by Damien Chazelle, and it's going to be distributed by Universal Pictures. And they feel pretty strong about it. If you guys read my article on the site that debuted, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday, I talked a lot about the campaigns and what's going to be going on. And very early word on First Man, going back for a few weeks now, based on my reporting, was that the film is strong. It's said to be quintessential Damien Chazelle. And what that means is some people are going to like it and some people are going to hate it. So with that said, is it a Best Picture winner? I'm not really sure. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Put it in the chat, and then we can talk a little bit about that. Ryan Gosling seems to be, based on my feelings, and I guess you guys can share this as well, that he is like second, third, or fourth thing that people are talking about. The big thing that people are talking about is Claire Foy. And that was the big thing that was based on my reporting way back, was that she was to be a force this season. And based on, if you follow the supporting actress race and what's going on there, it's pretty vacant, lack of a better term, or at least it looks like it this early on when we don't really know anything. She is going to be campaign supporting, so there is going to be no category confusion there. She's going supporting. When I was asking someone who had seen the film early on, are there any of the supporting guys that we need to keep an eye out for? They said they really liked Kyle Chandler, but probably the most Oscar-y role probably belonged to Jason Clarke. And then we can kind of see what happens there. But First Man, I think, is going to be a big contender in several categories. I think we can look for it, obviously, in picture, director, actor seems like it will be a default, given that it seems like a pretty weak year for acting. I would like to hear your thoughts on lead actor, because I feel we go about 10 or 11 deep, and then we are reaching for some names there. We have some word from Avi Sachs here. I don't see it as a Best Picture winner, talking about First Man. The reviews seem to be kind of similar to Interstellar. Seems like it's breathtaking, but as a film in general, I don't think it's winning. Listen, as we've learned over the past several months, years that we've been covering this race, you don't know anything until the envelope is opened. All right? La La Land looked like the surest thing since Titanic to win Best Picture, and in the end, it did not. Preferential ballot can do a lot to an awards race, so I think we'll have to see what happens there. But Avi, I do share your sentiments that it doesn't feel like a Best Picture winner right this second. However, there's a lot of road left. Where we're going, we don't need roads. That's a Back to the Future reference. All right, so moving on from First Man, we're going to be looking for A Star is Born soon. Oh, we actually got a thought here from Matt Sinclair. I think Best Actor is quite vacant. Ryan Gosling might get nominated, but I don't know who looks like a winner. Well, let's refer to Clayton's Oscar predictions and see if we can find out a little bit about what our thoughts are there. So you can go to awardcircuit.com and read my Oscar predictions. In the top left-hand corner, there's an Oscars button. It's going to offer a drop-down, and it's going to say predictions. Click on predictions, right? And then we're going to go to Best Actor and follow that together. Matt, I will agree with you. Ryan Gosling feels like a nominee. I think he should default himself. La La Land, I'd say he kind of defaulted himself in a way. While he was good in the film, and I think the agreement was that he was good, he never felt like anyone's big winner. So I think he should be able to default pretty well. Currently, right now, I have Bradley Cooper become the first person since Roberto Benigni to direct himself to an Oscar win. I have A Star is Born doing quite well on the day. And the early word is just too strong for it. It would need Venice and Toronto are going to need to really beat it up in order for it not to get nominated at this point, because the word is just so big at the moment. I think Warner Brothers has really tried to take that down and not be the front runner. Nobody wants to be the front runner. And that's can both be a good and a bad thing there. Following Bradley Cooper, my best actor prediction, that's Steve Carell for Beautiful Boy. If you followed my article earlier in the week, you saw that Beautiful Boy is having some internal discussions about where they're going to be campaigning, both Steve Carell and Timothée Chalamet. There is kind of no consensus there. I think they have the same amount of screen time. I don't believe they're going to go in the same category. As reported, that Green Book by Peter Farrelly, starring Viggo Mortensen and Mahershala Ali, is trying to campaign them, both lead and lead actor. However, speaking to someone who saw the film recently, Viggo has the meatier part and is a threat in the best actor race. If Mahershala is there alongside him, they both run the risk of siphoning votes off one another. Also, vote splitting, and maybe neither of them get nominated, but we'll see. Avi has another thought. There's like no strong winner for me currently. I currently have Christian Bale predicted as a winner, but I'm still waiting on a trailer for Backseat/Cheney. And I think you mean the untitled Dick Cheney biopic, because it still doesn't have a title. That's where we are. Last I heard, this is based on very recent reporting, Backseat Cheney, whatever you want to call it, is still in the editing room, and it will be there for a little bit. It is not like close to being finished. Like there's a process that Adam McKay follows where he edits and then he tweaks. He's not at tweaking yet. So I think we will get a trailer either late September or early October. I also asked, obviously, because that's been the big talk about where Amy Adams is going to go, right? Is she going to be a lead or a supporting contender? No one's seen the film yet, so no one knows. And the beat is that, I mean, I feel like she's going to be supporting, and that was from someone who said like they expect it to be a supporting run because the movie is about Cheney. So Bale will be in the thick of it, but they couldn't pick out any standout supporting things because no one's seen a lick of it yet. And that's where we are on that front. Following Best Actor predictions, behind Cooper and Carell, we have Willem Dafoe for At Eternity's Gate, who is playing Vincent Van Gogh, probably a role that he's been born to play for so long. But yeah, no early buzz on it. I could not get a beat on if it is strong or should we expect it. Speaking to someone who spoke to someone, it was kind of third hand there, who had said they had saw the film, said it is a Dafoe show, but that couldn't be confirmed. So I don't know what we're going to be getting when it comes to Eternity's Gate, which is debuting at TIFF. Or no, I'm sorry, debuting at Venice later this week. So there you go there. SLP shares, if The Old Man and the Gun is good, Redford will certainly be in the mix. The trailer looks great. Spacek probably has a shot too. Old Man and the Gun sounds to be just an acting play. That's based on early reporting. Robert Redford, of course, probably in the thick of a Best Actor race in what's said to be his final film performance. However, that did not work once for Clint Eastwood when he tried that for Gran Torino. So we don't know where that is. Early reporting on Sissy Spacek is that she will also campaign in lead actress, not supporting. And that was the early beat on that. That wasn't a confirmation from the studio. So I don't know if that's what they decided. But the early play is that she will go in lead actress, which is a funny change. I thought I saw this somewhere on film Twitter, that everyone always seems to try to avoid lead actress and go supporting, and we have the opposite thing happening this year where everyone's just trying to go lead, and we're getting co-leads, it looks like, but who knows if that's going to be what ends up in the end. Avi Sachs also shares, I actually have a friend who saw the Untitled Cheney biopic. He wouldn't lie about these things. He said it's called Cheney. It's not called Cheney. It's Untitled. They may have played it as Cheney, but that is not the official title as of yet. So just don't say your friend is lying. That's probably what it said on his paper, because what he probably went to was a test screening, which they typically do, and they often give you a title of the movie there. They're also testing the title with the audiences, so that may be one of the titles that they're playing with. And Adams is supporting it. Seems he has no idea if it's comedy or drama. Then that's probably what they're doing, playing with tone. As you may have heard a few years ago with Joy from David O. Russell, there were a few cuts they were playing with that was both dramatic and comedic. And then in the end, we got something that was jumbled of both and didn't quite hit or land the way they expected. But that's where we are. Rounding out lead actor, Viggo Mortensen is my number 4, as you saw for Green Book, and Hugh Jackman for The Front Runner. Someone who saw an early cut of The Front Runner says A+ Reitman. And that depends on what you consider A+ Reitman to be. All right. For me, A+ Reitman is Up in the Air. I love Up in the Air. Top 5 that year. A wonderful film. I think it still holds up really well. I don't know if you guys have revisited it, but it's still very, very good. And I think probably underrated, one of George Clooney's best performances. But yeah, Front Runner is supposed to be great, and Hugh Jackman is supposed to be especially good, with a great cast. So I think this may be a huge start for cast ensemble at SAG when it ends up coming that way. We got a question from Midline TV. I feel like people are underestimating Wildlife in a number of categories. Actress, supporting actor, screenplay. If IFC can push it hard enough, do you think it can sneak into Best Picture? As someone who has seen Wildlife, let's talk about Wildlife. I think it's actually very, very good. It's very, very solid. I'll say that. Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't think is going to be a threat for that movie. He is good. He's also, as said in the article as well, he will be campaign supporting for the Sisters Brothers, which is said to be good, but depending on who you listen to on Film Twitter, some people say it's bad. So it might be a mixed reaction. Wildlife, I think its best day is going to be adapted screenplay. I think we're underestimating it for Carey Mulligan. She probably delivers, for me, her best work since Shame. And she's had a lot of good stuff in between that. But she is very, very strong in it. And she anchors that film in a good way, as does the young boy in the film, Ed. And the film is going to do okay on the circuit, that is. Like, I think precursors are going to be kind to it. They'll reach out and give it some love here and there. However, in the end, it depends on what IFC can do. As we've seen, IFC's had their most success with Boyhood. Boyhood walked out with supporting actress, and that's it, in a year that it seemed like it was going to cakewalk to 4 Oscars. So I guess we'll see what happens. From Jamie Carrick, Up in the Air definitely holds up. Watch it this month. Can't wait for The Front Runner. It does hold up. Thank you for sharing my thoughts there. I will see The Front Runner next Saturday at the Toronto International Film Festival, where I am going for the first time. I've never been to TIFF. Usually, my writer Shane Slater, shout out Shane if you're watching this right now. Typically he goes. However, this year he could not go, and we didn't want to have no coverage at Venice and Toronto, so I stepped up, willingly, and went to go. So I'm excited. I'm going for 2 days only. So I'm going to go get the big stuff. I have a big 6-movie day on one of those days that's going to start with A Star is Born and end with the premiere of Halloween. So I'm really, really excited about it. And I'll share all my coverage there while I'm there. Finishing up Best Actor predictions. When I said it goes about 11 deep, if you go by mine, going 6 through 10, Christian Bale, I think, will be something that we can just continue to look at. Ryan Gosling for First Man, as we mentioned earlier. John David Washington for Black Klansman. I spoke with Sam Coffey yesterday. We were speaking by phone a lot about John David Washington and what his abilities are going to be in this Best Actor race. And we're a little bit in disagreement. I think first of all, let me say, we both feel he is the best part of the film. He anchors it. He's strong. I think he delivers one of the year's best performances. However, I struggle with Black Klansman's best day on the Oscar tally. I get to like 5 and I feel like it kind of stops, where Sam feels like it can go up to like, 7, 8, 9. He can get to like a lot of text. And I think John David Washington could Daniel Kaluuya himself in this race and get into Best Actor. Now, listen, this is the thing that typically goes when something unprecedented happens in an Oscar race, people apply it to the norm, right? So it's like Daniel Kaluuya, that's going to happen every time. Get Out opens the door for horror films. It kind of doesn't. What it does is it's a different type of thing that happens. When it happens 2, 3, 4 times, then we can say it's become the norm. Until then, we have to operate on caution. So John David Washington is a little subtle in his role. It's a very reserved performance. I struggle with him being named the best, always the number one thing, right? Being named the best performance of the bunch. I think Adam Driver's still kind of a threat to sneak in. But I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts on John David Washington. Again, put it in the comments or in the chat function, and we could talk a little bit about that. Rounding out Best Actor, Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody. This has been the quiet storm, right? Like no one, like Bryan Singer's stench is over it, but supposedly it's still very good, and Rami Malek is still a possibility to make some noise. So we'll have to see there. And then Lucas Hedges for Boy Erased. Boy Erased, again, I've been trying to kind of digging around, seeing what I can get the beat on that film. And it seems to be that it's good, not great. Lucas Hedges is obviously going to have another performance in Ben is Back, that is also said to be a really good performance. It's going to see on what he does. I always consider his nomination for Manchester by the Sea probably one of the more surprising things that happened that year, even though it seemed like such an assured thing. I was actually surprised that he survived throughout the season to get there. But Boy Erased seems to like live in a zone where it can rack up maybe 6 or 7 nominations, or it can be like one of those things that gets like 0. One more thing back to Black Klansman. Avi shared a thought, and this made me think about something I told Sam yesterday. It says Washington gives a great performance that currently only have Driver predicted out of the Black Klansman people. And that, I think it's one, 2, or both. I mean, Topher Grace is not happening anyone for people who haven't seen it. He's in it far too little. But Black Klansman, back to a point I made to Sam, it kind of feels like The Martian when everyone started saying that The Martian was going to win Best Picture. And they were like, it's Ridley Scott. He's back. It's his time. He can win director, and then it can just happen. And I feel like the same kind of swell happening about Spike Lee. It's his best in years, and it's going to happen for him. And the worry about Spike Lee from many, and this is people not even on the campaign, these are people that just from other publicists that aren't even working on the film, is going to be, can he play ball? Can he kiss babies? Can he play the circuit? Granted, Monique did it without kissing babies. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. Monique was an all-timer, in my opinion, an all-timer in terms of performance. Sometimes you don't have to kiss the babies, and you're going to win anyway. Christoph Waltz that year, I'd argue, didn't even need to kiss babies. He was kind of in that zone. Black Klansman is not an all-time film for many. I'm sure there's some out there who may feel that way, but it's not an all-timer. It's going to need the kiss the baby play. It needs to show how important it is, what it echoes, tie it into the political times that are going on. So that's going to be an interesting thing to see how it goes throughout the year. If people are going to tout it. Also, is it going comedy or musical at the Golden Globes? That came up in a conversation with Sam and I. I don't know where that's going to go. People are going to be pissed about it either way you go. It is a film that kind of touches both. I think it should go drama and stay drama. I think it's far more serious than it is funny. It gets a few chuckles. I think the funniest parts obviously are like Paul Walter Hauser, who's in like 5 minutes of it at most. So I guess we'll see what happens there. That's my thoughts there. Matt St. Clair, I really like John David Washington, but I think if any actor sneaks in for that film, it's probably Harry Belafonte, just because of this one scene is so impactful. It is impactful. Matt, I don't think that's happening. That's a reach in terms of, I don't know if anyone recalls Selma. God, the actor's name is escaping me. Henry Sanders Jr. I believe that was his name. He played Lakeith Stanfield's father in the film. People talked about him, about his just like that one scene wonder, and they kind of gathered a last minute Oscar campaign for him to see if that could happen, and it didn't in the end. So Harry Belafonte, I think would be ill-advised to mount a campaign, and also just I don't think it's really going to happen. Midline Frontrunner has been in my top 3 for Best Picture since April. The relevancy is really going to help that, and Widows. Widows. Let's talk about Widows, right? Talk to a few people who have seen it. Seems like popcorn. However, popcorn doesn't always necessarily mean you're out of the Oscar race. Popcorn can mean a lot of things. Get Out's popcorn. I'd argue that Get Out is popcorn. I mean, it's a satire and has a lot to say, but I'd argue that it's popcorn. The feel is that Viola Davis is very strong and she'll be in the thick of the race. There's a different standout in every conversation, but I think the consensus feels like it's Elizabeth Debicki. I'm not sure how you say that. But she could be something. It's again supporting actress, which is going to lead actually to supporting actress talk. I wanted to talk about that because there was a lot of talk, and I spoke in that article about Mary Queen of Scots and what's happening there. Mary Queen of Scots is not going to any fall festival that's leading up to AFI. It could go to AFI. It's because it opens in December, so in theory, it could go there. However, if they were going to make a play in a big way, you would expect it to go to Telluride, Toronto, Venice, or New York Film Festival. We don't know the Telluride lineup now. As of right now, it sounds like it's not going, and it kind of sounds like what I got is that they're hiding it. Hiding it, why? That it doesn't measure up. I think it's going to be somewhat of a case in production and costumes. Obviously, you don't need to be a good film to get production and costume, as proven by Alice in Wonderland and The Great Gatsby. However, I think Saoirse Ronan and Margot Robbie are going to be 2 kind of long shots, if that buzz is true. Who knows? Maybe that's not the news, and maybe it does do some damage. However, right now it seems like Mary Queen of Scots is not really in the thick, but that's the word on the street, and we'll see what happens there. With Margot Robbie moving out, because she was my number 1 a few weeks back, I was predicting her to do some damage. That leaves the new number 1, and I went with Claire Foy, my last predictions, based on that early word of First Man, and now I think it's been confirmed today by some of that's out there. And Claire Foy seems like a good representation for the film. If the film can't muster many wins in other places, and they look for things like that. Behind that is 2 curveballs. I usually throw 1, I threw 2. Maura Tierney in Beautiful Boy. Allegedly, she is going to be a force on the circuit. Her and Amy Ryan are set, so this has been the talk about it. Maura Tierney has the bigger role. Amy Ryan has the more emotional part. Their play is to get both of them in. And as we've seen with Doubt, Up in the Air, you can double dip in supporting actress very often. And if Beautiful Boy is a big player, then I guess we can see who and what happens there. But Maura Tierney is said to be good, and I've loved Maura Tierney for a long time. I know she has a lot of goodwill of The Affair. I just have fond memories of her in Liar Liar. I don't know why. Like when I think of Maura Tierney, I think of Liar Liar. She plays Jim Carrey's wife, the mother of his kid in the movie. It's very, very good. My other curveball is Michelle Yeoh in Crazy Rich Asians. So I don't think Crazy Rich Asians is the best picture play. I think a lot of people threw that out there, and I think it's a little bit of an overreach right now. Who knows? Things could change. And everything I say now can change on a dime. So please, guys, like take with that what you will. But Michelle Yeoh is a great representation for the film. Someone who's been snubbed for years. For years. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Like, I know that's what people go to. She's had other stuff since that. If anyone remembers the film The Lady, came out a few years ago. She is very, very good in that, and it's probably someone that should have been in the thick of the race, but we digress. So Michelle Yeoh, number 3, my predictions, could do some damage, become a representation of the film, because I think adapted screenplay is a little too thick this year for a Crazy Rich Asian. If it was original screenplay, then people can play the My Big Fat Greek Wedding card. However, My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and I was talking to Karen Peterson about this, the comparison between the two was that My Big Fat Greek Wedding was such a phenomenon and made so much money. And the story behind that was so much about Nia Vardalos and how great she was in it, and what and it essentially just made a star out of her. And obviously it had the backing of Tom Hanks, who was a producer on the film. Crazy Rich Asians doesn't quite have that yet, but I guess we'll see. Midline TV shared a thought. Queen of Scots seems to be a similar player as Suspiria. To me, score, makeup, maybe costumes that might sneak into supporting actress nom, but mostly a tech player. Suspiria said to be beautiful and in the creepiest way possible, which I guess proves your point, Midline TV, that it's probably a tech player. But Mia Goth is supposed to have a really good role that I have never seen the original, by the way, so I don't know. I've tried to purposely not watch it because I don't want to start comparing. So I'm going to watch the new one with fresh eyes. But Mia Goth is supposed to have a really good eye-catching part. Tilda Swinton and then Dakota Johnson is supposed to be very strong. And then supposedly the cinematography is beautiful, and the score is supposed to be to die for. So I think that probably proves a lot of what you were saying there. Matt St. Clair, I have Michelle Yeoh in my predictions as well. No guts, no glory. And at this point, in August, you can go a little no gutsy, no glory. I think you have to get a little serious as we get close to the end of the year, but never use the word lock. And I'm not saying I used to use that, Matt. I just heard that somewhere. Someone tweeted to me the other day, said Amy Adams is basically a lock to win for a movie that hasn't finished yet. So we can only go by film Twitter. Rounding out my 5 in supporting actress, Vera Farmiga for the front runner. But then beyond that, then we get a little interesting, right? Rachel McAdams and Disobedience being campaign supporting. Yes, we have category fraud once again. It happens. But she's very, very great in the film. And she could be someone that people run to her aid throughout the year, especially if they're not in the mood for a Michelle Yeoh, Maura Tierney. Then we could see Rachel McAdams move up in the ranking. Beyond that, Nicole Kidman and Boy Erased. I know that seemed like the play for a while, and everyone was kind of going with that, especially that she could win an Academy Award. Because I think we have moved into territory. This is the consensus. I get it. Nicole Kidman's going to win a second Oscar soon, right? You can put in the chat, raise your hand if you believe that's coming in the near future. It just seems she's been working consistently, delivering great performance after great performance. So she's going to maybe move towards that. Early word on her work in Destroyer is like she is. I heard the term of a wrecking ball. She plows through the film with a ferocity we have not seen of her before. That is the early word for me. So Destroyer could be more of her play, and she can get nominated in lead and maybe not happen in supporting, especially if Boy Erased, that early rumors are true that it's just okay and not necessarily great that could happen. Rachel Weisz, another person that's on the list currently for The Favorite. The Favorite, no one knows where the ladies are going yet. And I would say that they haven't confirmed to or committed to a category when confirming to me, and I spoke to the awards publicists on it. However, it seems pretty set in stone that Olivia Colman, it seems like Olivia Colman's going lead. I'd be shocked if she did not. it just seems like that type of role. And is that without seeing the film, it just sounds like that's what's going to happen. She's going to go lead. This is a question about Emma Stone, Rachel Weisz, and where they're going to go. The comparison obviously always happens to Devil Wears Prada, right? Who's going to be the Anne Hathaway that you don't care about? You just discard and you throw her wherever you want, because we really want to focus on Streep and Blunt and then see what happens. So I think that's where we're going to have to focus there. But the favorite, that early word is also big. Favorite feels like that quintessential film that's going to rack up a ton of nominations. I have a winning production and costumes right now and original screenplay, even though it doesn't feel like a typical original screenplay winner. However, I don't know if you guys have gone into original screenplay lately. I'll click on it right now. I feel it's slim pickings in there. All the Best Picture nominees are like adapted screenplays this year. Jamie Carrick, Nicole Kidman's second Oscar is definitely coming. Have her in my 5 this year. Paul Meredith said, surprise, she wins for Aquaman. God, talk about Norbit herself this year, right? Raise your hand if you think Aquaman's going to be like better or worse than BVS. I don't know. It's going to be awful. Back to original screenplay, though. Top 2 are obviously going to be The Favorite and Roma. And to speak a little bit about Roma, and I spoke about this on the podcast that just went up before this started. So once you're done here, if you haven't had enough of me, you can go to the site and listen to the new Circuit Breaker podcast where I break down everything. But Roma, if it goes to Telluride, which it more than likely is, it's going to be the only film this year that is playing all 4 festivals. The only film. Obviously, it's Netflix, right? And Netflix always gives people pause. Do they know how to run a campaign? Are Oscar voters ready to accept a streaming service? Netflix is serious about awards. They are. They were last year. Mudbound opened the gates for them. That was their dip in the pond. They got Mudbound 4 Oscar nominations without blinking. Like, it just happened. And they did it on a Mary J. Blige Oscar double nominee in support. Mary J. Blige on paper does not make sense as an Oscar nominee for that movie. On paper, you watching the movie, it completely makes sense to me. She's phenomenal in it. But that dipped their feet in it. Now they're ready and taking it serious. So they've tapped a deal with Lisa Tabak, who is the awards the awards body who got Moonlight its Best Picture win. That is going to be an indicator that they're ready to do damage with Roma. And Roma is said to be one of the most personal, confident outings of Alfonso Cuarón that we've seen so far. It's supposed to be fantastic. I cannot wait to see it. Funk Style asks, when will Telluride announce list of films? Today? No, it announces tomorrow. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern. So tomorrow is when our own Mark Johnson is going to get on a plane and head to Telluride. And then cover it for us. So Telluride will be announced tomorrow. We put on the site our top 10 films most likely to play there, and you can read that as well. Finishing out original screenplay, though, Favorite and Roma, obviously those are your top 2, and you can interchange that as you like. And after that, then we're defaulting, I guess, on Mike Lee again for Peterloo. Didn't get a really strong sense there. No confirmed category placement for Rory Kinnear, even though we do expect him to go lead. Mike Lee is 7-time nominee. He might just be able to default himself pretty well there. Rounding that out, I guess we can maybe go to Everybody Knows, maybe from Asghar Farhadi. 8th Grade from Bo Burnham is one of the big hits of the summer. And I think people are really pounding, the pavement, trying to make sure people remember that and keep that in the conversation. It's about what A24 actually wants to do with it. That's going to determine that. Outside of that, then we have Destroyer. Then obviously the Dick Cheney biopic. Quiet Place is making a play for original screenplay. Emily Blunt as well, even though we don't know where she's going yet. I gave a recommendation in the middle of that conversation, even though it wasn't warranted and asked for it, but that's what I do anyway. Go supporting with Emily Blunt. I think she's a straddler. I think she can go either way. And when you're in doubt, don't mind to throw her supporting, especially if, based on early word, again, that she's a thing for Mary Poppins Returns. If she's going to be a thing for that, don't let her split her vote. And if Mary Poppins Returns is awful and doesn't live up to the expectation, A Quiet Place is a great first nomination for Emily Blunt and way overdue for her. From Marzavier, I think I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. 16. Do you think Kiki Lane will get in for lead actress? You guys will hear this on the podcast. You can run and see that, or I allude to it in the article. Kiki Lane in If Beale Street Could Talk, about If Beale Street Could Talk in general. The early word is supposed to be that Barry Jenkins is trying to find himself in the editing room with the film. Now, does that mean it's bad? No. But it was not really gliding the way it needed to. They were still trying to find it. So in that case, I don't know. Kiki Lane is still in my 10. She could be, and we'll see what happens there. But we're gonna need to see what happens with If Beale Street Could Talk. It could be just fine in the end. I did hear no matter what, it's going to be a sophomore slump. It's not going to be as great as Moonlight. But no, I mean, it's hard to dilly that back to back. Ivy Sachs, my original screenplay currently is Untitled Cheney, Roma, Peter Lou favorite in 8th grade. And I think it's a good default 5 to go with. Outside of that, Green Book, which I spoke about a lot in that article, said to be impossible not to love, a crowd pleaser, and could go the way of like Hidden Figures and Dallas Buyers Club and just be that surprise big hit that we're not realizing. It's just tacking up the nominations. Also co-written by the real life son of the Viggo Mortensen character. So that's a good story to go with. And then there's Ad Astra, late entry into the race, possibly. We're waiting. They did not confirm a release date yet. I did hear a little bit on film Twitter that people said it was December 25th. That has not been confirmed yet. That definitely is. They're still determining what it's going to be, but the plan is to get a qualifying release, and it is not finished, so we don't know. But I'm all down for a Hoyt van Hoytema to get a second nomination this soon. And then you're going into White Boy Rick, Hearts Beat Loud. Know that make Joey and Karen really happy. And The Happy Prince from Rupert Everett, his directorial debut. You guys know who Rupert Everett is? Julia Roberts' gay friend from my best friend's wedding. Made his directorial debut, supposed to be really good. Sony Pictures Classics picked it up. He assembled Colin Firth, Tom Wilkinson, and Emily Watson. He stars as Oscar Wilde in his final days. So that could be a threat in original. He writes, directs. It could happen for him. Any categories you guys want me to cover real quick? Because we're down to like the last 8 or 9 minutes. And I want to talk about something that I know you guys want to talk about and give you the opportunity to comment. I can read it, answer some questions that you guys have. Talking about lead actress, going back a little bit to Kiki Lane being in my 10. I feel like it's Glenn Close's year. It feels like a Julianne Moore, Still Alice thing, because unless Olivia Colman is the second coming, if she's not, let's pretend Olivia Colman's good enough to get nominated. We're going to compare her to, let's say she's Imelda Staunton and Vera Drake, right? We'll just call her that. If she is that, if it's between Glenn Close and Lady Gaga, they're going with Close. I just feel like they are. As good as Lady Gaga could be. This will be a great nomination for Gaga, and I think it would help in a Star is Born nomination tally and could muster up some love, but that's where I think we'll be in the end. Hereditary is still out there, lingering. I dare you to give me a better lead performance this year yet from a woman. Right now I'm still on Toni Collette. I haven't seen anyone better than her. And Julia Roberts in Ben is Back, going lead, not supporting. So I guess we'll see what happens there. And then Melissa McCarthy and Can You Ever Forgive Me? Early word is that the film is carried by her and Richard E. Grant. So we'll see. Jamie Carrick, any early ideas for cinematography? I can only predict Roma and First Man. I too have Roma number 1, Jamie, so I hope you follow my stuff there. Alfonso Cuarón could direct himself to an Oscar for shooting Roma. I mean, trailer looked just beautiful. It is black and white. I did go over what Roma is, what the title means. Roma is a neighborhood in Mexico City where Alfonso Cuarón grew up. That's why it's so personal. So Roma refers to the neighborhood. Outside of Roma, there and First Man, A Star is Born could default itself and get into cinematography. It looked kind of all right. Looked like it was taking cues from Clint Eastwood, but maybe he elevated it. James Laxton for Beale Street Could Talk. I mean, that trailer was beautiful too, and I think that would be a good thing for it. I said Robbie Ryan for The Favorite. Also looked pretty good. I was a big fan of oh my god, it's escaping me right now. The cinematography in Colette is really good, and I would like to see that in The Hunt, even though I don't think that's happening by a long shot. The Sisters Brothers is supposed to also have some really strong camera work, so I guess we'll see what happens there. Matt St. Clair, what about Felicity Jones on the basis of sex? I don't know. It's one of those she lies there. She lies there on the predictions. I guess we'll see what happens with her. We are in an RBG mood. RBG, by the way, is premiering on Labor Day on CNN. So if you guys miss it in the theater, you can watch it on TV on CNN that day. But yeah, Felicity Jones she could. We'll just have to see what happens there. I think that's a Felicity Jones or bust nod. That's just my take. I haven't seen Hereditary, but Elsie Fisher is my favorite female performance, but that's kind of unfair. That's from Avi Sachs. I mean, Elsie Fisher, I think, will get a campaign. Watch out for its SAG. Just as a surprise, here's a SAG nod, but it's not going to go anywhere else. Could happen. Let's see. I'm going to talk about director real quick, and I think we'll end up there. I think we'll close up shop. Director, Bradley Cooper. I have him winning three or four Oscars on the night. He's gonna, like, if he wins director, actor, win original song, because A Star is Born really gonna win that much? And is A Star is Born? Will A Star is Born go comedy or musical at the Globes? Jamie Foxx went comedy or musical, but I feel like someone else after that in a musical biopic did not, and I can't remember off the top of my head right now. If you remember, Jamie Foxx went comedy or musical. Somebody was in a musical biopic and then went drama instead. I know. Terrence Howard, Hustle and Flow. He went drama. And I'd say it's like, I mean, those types of musical films that have music-based stuff, but it's still about something else. That I used a Mark Johnson definition of a musical. Do they sing where they would otherwise speak? And I think that's the question. So I don't know if Star is Born is full on musical like that, or it's just like songs being performed. So I guess we'll see. Yeah. Obviously, A Star is Born has to go comedy or musical. It's literally a musical, unless I'm missing something. I mean, is it a musical like in the musical sense, like Les Miserables, or is it a musical like Inside Llewyn Davis is a musical? And there's people singing songs on stage only. Karen Peterson. Oh, look who joined. Hi, Karen. I'll go with musical because the drama competition will be too heavy. Maybe. We'll see. Avi says, I think it has to do with how many original songs are in it. I think all the songs are original. And I want to say there's like 8 or 9. I honestly think there's like 8 or 9 songs. They're all original, all written by Gaga and Cooper. I'm saying Cooper's going to win 3 Oscars. And allegedly Clint Eastwood's film that he's doing, oh God, his next final film performance, I don't know the name, type it before I get The Mule. Allegedly it's going to get an Oscar qualifying run this year, and Bradley Cooper has a supporting role in it. This guy's going to get like 6 nominations on Oscar day. Maybe. Oh, also has Thaisa Farmiga. I just saw her yesterday in a film called What They Had, and she's very good in it. I like the film a lot. Yeah. So I am just about done here. This is the first time that we try this. So I don't know if we're going to keep doing it, but if you want us to, then put in the comments that you want us to. We'll probably do it on Wednesdays or Thursdays or maybe the weekends. I don't know. We'll find out what kind of works for everyone when people are most on. But if you miss this live, then it will be on YouTube, and then we'll go there. So for Ward Circuit, I am Clayton with all you guys. Thanks for chatting. I'll see you at the movies. Bye.